No filters over here. No filters over here, but that's all right. It just helps for all of us who, I don't know, there's just a new way of having to live as all these energetics are uncoiling. And I'm telling you, the one thing that all of us by the time you get through this, one of the main things you give up is your vanity issues. That's for sure. I'm on here right now. I'll be honest, I'm not exactly even sure what all's gonna come up. I felt called to grab my cup of coffee and turn on the YouTube this morning. Hi, Mary. Turn on the YouTube this morning. It's so crazy because the YouTube energy and the TikTok energy is just so different. I don't know if you're a content creator or not. Even if you're not a content creator and you happen to have accounts that are open and you watch others on different platforms, not just the two that I just named, not this one, not just this one and TikTok, although these were the largest two energy bands and energy frequencies that we were dealing with. But even if you're not a content creator, I would highly suggest creating some type of content for you to release on the two different platforms. Two different platforms. It doesn't matter. Pick two. Pick two. And when you're doing it, I want you to energetic, because this is like a little, it's like a little laboratory experiment for you. Whenever you publish content on these platforms, then especially whenever you go live, which I know not everybody can do that, because you have to be a content creator and you have to have a certain amount of followers. But especially on the lives, whenever you're an energy being like we are, you really, really, really feel the difference with. And it took me a minute because I started out on YouTube. Now please just follow me. There's a point to all this. Besides this, always is with me, right? When you like YouTube, it took me a minute to get on TikTok. Like when I first started creating content on TikTok, because I'd been on YouTube for 6 years. 6 years. And so I was really used to this energetic with YouTube on a live. And whenever I started doing TikTok creation, especially because I had to build that up in order to get live, it was so fast. And not even just the lives and stuff, because I mean this was in the very beginning when I was just making videos and putting them on there. But as an energetic being, whenever I would get on there, it's like I'd feel like coming from this platform to that platform, I'd feel like I'd have to jumble up a whole bunch of information and then blast it. Like I'd have to get a whole bunch of information in my head and then blast it on one screen, and it was really fast and my heart was always pounding. Same thing with the lives. Same thing when I went live and started going live. When I connected in with that energetic, it was so fast paced, and it was even your heart starts pounding. And then you come back over to YouTube and it's like, I just want to like chill here and like talk to y'all, and that's kind of what I feel like I should be doing more on TikTok instead of blasting the information. But it's funny because when you're on that TikTok application, it actually is easier it's easier. The way to blast a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of, I don't know. I can't explain it. This YouTube is a little bit more cerebral, I guess. Anyway, I open with this because I find it interesting. What's coming in today that I woke up with, and is like sending me on this little remembrance trail, because that's where we are right now, is remembering what we've already done, what we've already cleared, figuring out what we've already done. Because for all of us that walked this crazy, like, clearing magic, breaking curses, and whenever you talk about breaking curses and clearing magic, there's a lot more to it, because in the middle of it, in the middle of break, because I mean, this was collective, this was massive DNA, blood curses that stemmed all the way back to the whole thing with Muhammad, the whole thing with Abraham, the whole thing with Moses, dealing with every deity that any of the races of humans had created from it. Because I mean, that's basically, now we know what happened. That's why too, you know, I talk about the different deities, and it doesn't matter who you pray to. It's coming to the ascended, because the ascended has ascended every single one of these deity strongholds that people's any race's philosophy, any race's magic, because it was bound to them, even by name, by statue, by face. And all those have been put together and had to be blended up and kind of sewn back together in a massive cosmic quilt without any stains on them as well. This is why none of the spells that anybody's doing or holding now, this is why. Because there is no more just this deity has more power over this one, and this one has more power over this one, because of all the intention that went into it over massive amounts of time, connected into certain, how do I say, without sounding racist, because it's not a racist statement, it's a fact. Certain groups and certain, not even groups, it's races of beings that have been made from it. Whenever you start really understanding how the hell this has gone on for this long, and what it's all about. And I just posted a short on here that I moved over from Taco, which is what I call TikTok, because we've been undoing that spell, and it's a CIA ops. It's a time travel application, literally, which also describes, you know, why I started talking about how fast paced it is over there, how it moves. But just as each deity, and just as putting all that back together, and just as us rebuilding the human form in order to, that's deleted of all those curses, and new neuron patterns and everything made, in order for us to hit a higher frequency, in order to pull up out of these curses, because they never would have stopped. We also had to do the same thing with these applications. Now, TikTok, because it was so fast paced, because there were so many readers and spiritual people and awakened humans more on there, I believe, than on YouTube now. Now, not in 2018. Now, we had to take over that application and that energetic as well. So and this is why they're trying to shut it down. And because they are spying through the phone, but so is everybody else. So is everybody else that's doing any type of app development, any of the app companies, Google in and of itself, all of it, Apple, all of it. So you can't say that one app is spying on the other, or spying on people, and then not look at the entirety of technology. But we are changing it. We can only use what they use. So since they were using TikTok as a CIA time machine, propaganda time machine, then it became the collective's TikTok reversal time machine. It became the application that broke the clock. And universal law is, I strongly believe, and we need to, and everybody needs to talk about it more so that everyone understands it more, what universal law is, and how universal law shows up. Those of us who broke the curses and the spells have seen universal law show up. Those that are not aware of any type of blood curses, or they're not breaking their program, they're not attempting to, they're not trying to, they don't know, haven't even got a clue yet that they're supposed to. They don't see universal law yet. This is what I'm figuring out, because universal law is basically the same thing that I just described with TikTok. So it's like if the feds and the CIA are going to try to use TikTok to keep everybody on an old 1900 or 1800 clock, then when the ascended break that, not figure it out, break it, and it flips to the higher energetic, then that's when you start seeing universal law show up to the ones who are involved with it. And universal law is going to balance it out whenever it's flipped. And we never know what is going to happen. We never know who's going to get hit. We never know what's going to happen. We never know if it's going to be good for them or bad for them. We have no idea, because we don't do spells. We don't know anything about spells. We're breaking everybody out of spells. We don't know any. We don't do them. All we know how to do is deflect, reflect, protect, unbind, uncoil. That's all we know how to do. On the flip side, all they know how to do is coil, bind. So it's always, and so much of what's happening to so many right now, because we broke these curses, is universal law set in, and their karma has set in. This is even for the United States of America. Even Biden is currently the United States karma for attempting another election, or for being convinced that that another election would work whenever we already cleaned the AB negative. The entire presidential, how that's all set up, was all on AB negative. and turning more and making more and more AB negatives, and it takes 9 generations to make an AB negative. This is where Rex Humerman comes in. They had basically replicated every single AB negative process that went on through for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, and I dare say millions of years, in order to create in the evolution cycle, but also included binding rituals, mummification rituals, because always in the beginning, these binding rituals, mummification rituals that were done on the original beings were all done for positive reasons. They were done to keep the connection from this energy status, especially if we're talking about Egypt, throughout time, so that in the end days, we could connect into the ancient infrastructures that our people had built. We could connect into the pyramids. We could connect into the energetics that we had created in Egypt. We could connect into the original body codes in order to bring them in to this last day's dimension. It's why it was all done. Even the marrying the brother and the sister, and and keeping the lines clean, and blah, blah, blah. It was all of it done in order to keep that power source connection to the planet and the cosmos. Because in Egypt, everything that we in the Egyptian times, which I'll really blow your mind and remind you they're all going on right now. It's all happening at once. In Egyptian times, all of the infrastructures and the buildings were set up into cosmic alignments. And all your Egyptian beings are connected into basically an Ophiuchus alignment, because because that DNA sequence, these mummified body sequences that were here, were connected to cosmic energy, just like now we're connected to cosmic energy. We're getting our connection back into cosmic energy again. Everything that was done back then was done to ensure that. So the bindings and the curses, and this isn't just on one person. Like very, very seldomly will you get a full-blown powerhouse ritual done to one being. Okay? That's very specific. And they would only do something like that at the very end of something, when they knew for sure that was the one, that was the connection, because then they're not going to waste that one lineup that they have on that 1 4-hour window in order to send it to the wrong person. So the curses and the rituals and the binding spells are even your religion. I mean, that's probably why I'm on here today talking about this. The books, everybody reading it, the kneeling, the standing, and the Catholicism, I mean, all of it, and not just Catholic, every effing religion down here. And then because the book and the Bible had been changed so many times, and then there were so many versions. China has its version, this person has it, and we had to walk every single one of them. Now I'm saying all this because what's on my mind, what's on my mind, y'all, is Saudi Arabia. I'm so damn sick of, I never I never paid any attention to any of these other countries before all this started. Now I walked this, and these were collective spells, but basically what was happening is whenever these collective spells were going on, each one of us, ooh, my left ear just did something. It went wah. There's a plane flying over too. Each one of us that were in this temple system, because it's basically like that, you know, all of us, all of our energies are in a circle. You're looking down at us, just like the flat earth. You're going to have different ones of us that energetically are holding these top rungs. Now, as above, so below. So if you're holding a top rung of energetics, the collective energetics, then you're also holding the base. If you're holding the top, then you're holding the base. And so when and how this ended up working out is because when they would do these collective maneuvers and these collective spells, why is it that not everybody felt it? Well, I'm explaining it to you. That not everybody felt these collective spells, depending on what they're doing, what DNA strand they're doing it on, depending on why they're doing it, depending on who they did it to last time, what group, which this was always about what you would call the Judah line. This was always about the missing DNA. This was always about the energetics of the ones who had in this timeline had come in 1973 in order to complete this, but realize that the beings that came in and were sent back down here in 1973 per our timeline would be, in the one we were in, would be considered more alien type in form. But the only reason is because that's how far away we had gotten from our Egyptian bodies that were buried in temples, or our bodies were are dismantled, or our bodies were stolen, or even, how about this, put in a DNA machine and remade. So the farther that you get away, and the whole 12,000 year, 14,000 year, million year clicks, cycles, these long measurements of time that we all forgot about because everything was being destroyed, so we wouldn't remember. Because not only, I mean, and the other reason for the alien form or look or how it appears is because, I mean, at this point right now, we're like 693 years overdue for this connection. So that's how long that those Egyptian forms, the Egyptian body forms, the cosmic lineup, that's how long it had been being stolen, replicated, and basically other groups and other races down here, human races, Middle Eastern, Asian, American for a while, English for a while, each one kind of had their turn, kind of, if you think about it, in using that DNA in order to do whatever. Because whenever you have when you have a connection into the entire human race, and whenever you understand the physics of how things are being run down here, and then your word is, I mean, the reason that we can't lie is because everything that we say comes true. That's why we can't lie. Like, we literally can't lie. Because nothing that we say is a lie. If we say it, it's going to come true. It's going to come to pass. Whenever you're connected in with that many humans. But But with Saudi, that this was all human harvesting that created their line. Now I'm picking on them because it has to do with Arabian, it has to do with the AB, it has to do with how obviously this has been the entire human race has been pinned down, and why we didn't evolve and how we got stuck in a loop for almost 700 years. It wasn't Europe. Europe and London and all of that, they have their own DNA sequences. They have their own powers and gifts when you're at the top of them, but it's different than whenever you're holding like a half melanin count, which is a big deal because they have their melanin in their skin. I mean, there's a reason that they're the color that they are. There's a reason that Saudi is in the desert, or was, right next to, you got Egypt over here, you've got Israel, Alexandria, and then you've got Saudi, and then everything's fighting, everybody's fighting above that. Everybody's trying to get a connection into basically the Black Sea. All the other weirdos that are doing whatever the f balls that are above them on the that's the reason they're all going toe to toe. But all the Dragon Order and all the Valkyrie and the original twins from way long ago, not this round, way long ago, all started up there. All started in Germany, Poland, Cascadian Mountains, and then we were all over time in weird ass freaking ways brought into the United States of America. Mostly, I walk. This came up a lot on the walk and the journey because I met a woman and had to work with her that her father worked for the CIA. Her father was fired from the CIA because they helped a German woman escape and get into the United States. The Genzel family that I'm adopted from, they came over on a boat from Czechoslovakia into Texas, specifically Caldwell, Texas, which is right outside of Naziville, Azazu territory, Bryan College Station, Texas. And they even have on the logs me. They have me on their boat logs as adopted, like coming over on a boat. But that's really weird because, like, all right, whatever. But my point is, there's all these different ways and different family members and different groups and societies that got us out of those territories, mostly because everybody was trying to kill us on another round, just like they did this time. Or they were binding everything to us. Maybe they knew that we wouldn't die because they knew that we were attached to the whole system. They especially in the past, what you'd consider probably at least 300 years. At least 300 years. They would always tell me throughout this whole thing, because I'm like, I'm dying. They're like, no, you're not. You're not going to die. You're not going to die. But then it was almost like because we didn't die, that it was all right to do anything else to us, to do it over and over and over. Because no, you're not going to die. No, you just no, you can rebirth. But so then it was almost gave them, they felt like it gave them the right in order to do whatever to us because they knew we wouldn't die. And then what they figured out is that when we would basically, because they would bind everything to us in rituals, in power structures, in books, in accounting. I mean, accounting in a way is even magic. Especially masonry accounting, which is a little bit different than just regular accounting. But that masonry accounting and how they do that is your base root of accounting system. Internal Revenue Service, right? When they would attack us, these tops of us, when they would do these, when these times would come around that we were rebirthing and connecting into the entire human race and healing everybody and putting and getting them off of us, because we always did. This wasn't the first time. We always did. We always came. We would wake up under these processional cycles. We'd be like, ah, get them off of us. And we would have this connection in this railroad system that they could only watch. They couldn't be in until this last one. They weren't in it. They could only watch. As we cleared the human race, and as the human race started changing, and as the ecosystem started changing, and then there really would create a new, we'd birth out of one. So this is the old structure, all this stuff over here. We'd connect and blend it all from here and here, because when we're blending all of this, we're having to pull the energy from way out here in order to do it. In doing that, what we always created was this ladder, okay? Because we're connected to the energies way out here, we're having to clean everybody from the inside out down here. And then just by doing that creates this Jacob's ladder type of system. Then everything's connected into our DNA line. Well, then they want to do a mecha spell. Now, funny thing about that mecha spell, because this is what's getting interesting on this, because that is what they did. That was a giant mecha. I mean, I even had to have him doing the Cotton Eye Joe. I mean, I've done all types of stuff for years on that mecha thing. But it really didn't come full into play until 2022 when they tried to spinal tap me in Anaheim. And whenever I knew that they tried to give every single one of us polio, every single one of us that they would consider in the Judah line, the ones down here that we're changing everybody's DNA, and that we were healing everybody, and they needed us to, because they needed us to wipe the DNA, and then we'd create this new structure, and then they'd bind us to the old one, and then they'd run everything off these new structures. This is how everybody got so bound down here. Because we were always holding the base foundation. Each time this happened, then the human race would escalate. They would drop us and bind us to the ocean floor, to the depths of hell, to the deep space, to fucking Tartarus, to whatever. But that was all being done by Mecca, Saudi, selling off of their princess, their sister. I mean, always. I mean, basically is like the Babylonian princess stuff. And the last, what is it, Zedekiah princess? Now, here's the thing with Saudi. Feds and the government all over it. It's like they even set up the table. They even set up the party. Like this is even what, like, I mean, they even told them in a lot of ways what to do. Because why? Because we was all in the United States. We was all in the United States. This had become a whole, how do you control the United States of America, not anything else. That's it. Because in every story, in every scenario, forever, I don't care how many years you go back since the United States has been here, we've all been in rescued in some way, or driven to, or death trapped, or whatever, in the United States of America. It's linked to even, because you're talking about Aborigine, which is what AB is, but it's even linked to Native American princess. I mean, if you really understand what Thanksgiving is and the turkey was and how the turkey was even manifest down here, and because it was utilizing the Native American princess. Basically, they sacrificed their most connected Native American princess to make a turkey and feed it to the colonizers, knowing eventually over time that that princess would take hold in their DNA. Same exact way that wheat was sent here. Eating the wheat, eating the wheat, eating the wheat. I mean, and I know then wheat became whatever the F, but that's why they genetically hybridized the wheat, because wheat originally came from the star people. Even cement, how you make cement, that all was channeled in from the cosmos. It wasn't down. Horses got here whenever the colonizers came in and started killing all the Native Americans down here in the South and in Texas and wherever the F balls else we were. And then it wasn't fair because they had guns and they had this universal law set in. And then that is how horses got here. Horses manifest through the body. And I mean that the horses and the whole timeline of when the horses appeared down here in order to help in that time is part of the Egyptian sequences. And you can even, if you go look up your, well, it's basically like your Mayan, well, it's Egyptian counts. Like if there's different era maps that line up the Egyptian timelines. This is also on sarcophaguses and pyramids and da 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 da. Like the 3 circles and 2 lines, or depending on what era you were attached to within the pyramid system, you have a certain. There's either it's lines and dots, and so this whole horse thing is linked to prophecy. It's linked to basically a point in time when spirit is like it is right now, to where everything is manifest from pure spirit. But not all Egyptian time counts are like that. And that happens to be what mine is. It's 3 dots and 2 lines. That's why, and when I first woke up, I used everything with 3 dots. That's why whenever you're whenever you're waiting for someone to message, what does it do? Dot 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 dot. And this is why everything was dot dot dot. I mean, it'll blow your mind where all those little 3 dots are, especially in the technology. But this is why, because it manifested from nothing, literally. Manifested from nothing, literally. Those are the DNA sequences that are recombined because of the physics in the giant clock. Now, this whole thing with Hamden and Faza. See, what I'm realizing, and what I'm putting together, because when they're all, the whole point of them doing the black, how they were able to get away with this for this long is because of the masks. In every scenario, they were wearing masks. I don't care if it's from what you'd consider the Illuminati, or because the Illuminati didn't have any power until they started killing and molesting and raping and pasteurizing, and I mean, like an animal, hunting us in Austria, in Switzerland, in with those crazy masks, and they had their own little weird ass shit. I mean, it all started from up there, not down here. It all started up there. Everyone just kept doing what was working before, and then there were certain lines of us that they got up here, and then in order to do it down here, they had to find the descendants of and do it again. I mean, I saw this clear as day yesterday. I think it was yesterday, and it really hit me. When I was talking about the problem was we hadn't been developing the future because everybody had always been taking us backwards. So it's like this is why we're in the state that we're in right now, because the human race has to write the future, but if the future that's already written has been stolen and sent to the past so many times that nobody down here was writing the future, it's basically what the Ascended Collective was doing as we were breaking all these breaking spells, breaking curses. Those of us that were doing it were writing what comes next for all of us consciously, because nobody else was. Nobody else was. Now, I know, and I saw it so clearly yesterday, that another reason that nothing was being built from the future is because they had put, by this point, because of how long it had been going on with the capturing, the sedation, the murder, the experimentation, then, I mean, because realize it went through it went through deer processing, it went through chicken processing, it went through hog processing, it went through pig manipulation, it went through human manipulation, it went through hybridization. But it has our lines, the ones that have been missing, the asylum squad, whatever the F balls you want to call it, all that, it's the same DNA line that they've been getting every single time. That this is why our line can shoot through that stuff so quick, because you'd already done it to us. But over each link, each time, we would be captured this, captured that. But it wasn't the same thing that was done before. It's going to be a little bit deeper, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Because the end game for them was always full body and full takeover. Each time it happened, it would get us more to a sheep stage. There's Dolly Parton. It get us more to a pig stage, and that's what everybody. If you're gaining a lot of weight, you're getting gigged. It's gigged. It's pigged. You're in a pig suit. I had one. When I came in. I had to birth out of it. This is how I know. I've had to get many of y'all out of yours. Now yours is just disintegrating, basically, because it's a gig. It's making you a speaker. But this was Russian programming. This was Russian mind fuckery. This was social experimentation. This was, I mean, is a lot of it. All order to control. The thing is, I know for a fact at 51 years old, I am by far the oldest one that's ever lived in our line. And I'm not talking about, like, my soul. I'm talking about, this is the first time anybody that has made it to the age of 51 in the whole line throughout history. So I saw it so clearly yesterday. That's also why we've been on pause. It's also why in 2000, because realize everybody that's ascending is ascending through all these different layers that have happened before. It's just in this particular line that I'm talking about is the base root of all of it. And within waves and cycles, everybody's getting out of these different energies. This is why everyone else has at least 7 years. They should have had longer than that, but it is what it is. Because they kept doing it. They wouldn't stop. In order to change, in order to stop it, we had to just change the bloodline. Because you can't control the world. You can't control these people. The Australians are going to keep fucking eating people. I mean, I met the Australians at Nashville in a hot tub, literally. And then I was told they only ate meat. They were carnivores. Like, and all of these beings and these experiences and these situations that we were flowing through, especially for me, it was 2020 to 2022. And it was when all of these spells and all these different organizations were being done. When it would be done, especially to those of us who are holding these temples, and then holding down here, what would happen was I'd end up in California around some really crazy shit, or you'd end up around some crazy shit, or some, I mean, especially 2020, 2021, 2022, when everything was shutting down, and we were like, what the fuck? And we were getting lured everywhere. So, you know, I was around the Biden fund, I was around the government, I was around the White House, I was around astrophysicists, I was dealing in 2021, 22 with the Valkyrie, I was dealing with the Dragon Orders, I was dealing with the Asian Mafia, then 2022 it went Colombia. But the whole thing started with Epstein and Saudi. These different layers of masks. Now I've been knowing my whole drama with, let me give you an example, my whole drama with this Jason Momoa and this Henry Cavill character. Well, here's what's fucked up about this whole thing. Here's what's fucked up is it started out being all made up. What they were doing was if they knew that you had a connection to a twin, especially in a parallel, especially if they already had some clout, especially if, because they're in a parallel, they're riding your skins, basically. So they know who your energy was used to make in Hollywood the time before. That's why they're building up this new character in order to connect him with this character. And they were just writing these characters, but they always knew who had the actual connection in physics. So what they did with us starting in 2020 and the end of 2019 is they being Saudi, the feds, the government, the CIA, Epstein, Scientology, all of them, because they all had data input from all their different various whatever, and then everybody was going fishing. They were fishing. They had all of their, any of your actors or music people, it was basically actors though. All of your actors that were on Instagram, especially in 2020, 2021, 2022, what they were doing was fishing for us, and they were getting paid to do it. They that was like part of their contract, because they couldn't send them out on a gig, they couldn't have them make a movie. So what they were doing was isolating them and then having them go into Instagram and talk to all of us. Well, whenever that energy frequency comes through your tech, and then certain conversations come up, or certain things were said exactly the way that they were said before, and it's all being monitored in all your systems, then this is how they started figuring out which ones of us were the real ones up here. Okay? Attached to everything down here. They used the names of the ones that they knew we were attached to. So for like me, it was Jason Momoa, and then this energetic basically made a Henry Cavill. That's what's really fucking weird about it. And I had to, these characters were coming, and the Illuminati, you know, was using us to write their character. So it's like whatever contract these entities had signed to connect. Now there's a reason it's Momoa too, because he was attached to Bonet from the Cosby side, and Kravitz, which Kravitz, don't even get me started on because Cavit, Cavitz, is the actual real name. I was Chastia Cavitz, Cavitz, not Kravitz, Kra, and not Cavill, the Illuminati version of. So it's like we would have one character that was attached to us from the past through the Egyptian stuff, the Atlantis stuff. I mean, because this is Lemurian stuff that I'm talking about. So I mean, same thing. Atlantis, Egyptian, same thing. One underwater, one in the desert, same thing. But Atlantis has a base root, Lemuria, same as the Tartarian infrastructure being the base root of some of the rest of it. So the older character, the one that was in your past, is introduced, but then there'll be another character that was introduced because it came at the same time almost, but always right after. So it was like whenever the whole Jason Momoa thing started, it was like the very same day I got this one little weird message from Henry Cavill. It's like they were always intertwined. Jason Momoa, if I did talk to the real one, if I did, it was in the very beginning. It was in the very beginning, December 19th and from January. And a lot of the times we would have to talk to the real one because they're trying to have him take over our energy attached to me. So you can't do that with just a mimic, but most of the time they would send one in the very beginning, then build the bond, pull up all those energies and all that stuff, flood back in, because there's a connection there, and then what they do is then hand it over to a handler. So then they hand it over to a handler. And then this is why the energy kept changing. On the Momoa side, and I've already said this, I mean, because I've talked to over 50 fuckers that said that they were him since that. Both of the characters. The Momoa stuff was always military guys. Always. Like, a lot of us from the military side are like cosmic pinup girls that everyone's aware of and has secret tapes of and has nudes of us and whatever else, because there's eyes all over us, but in a weird fucked up way within the military, not even just subconsciously, but within the military lines. Like, they know who we are. They were made to scout and watch us and mess with us. Now, on the Momoa side, because there were two sets of prophecies that I found out by 2021 was all. Now realize that whenever I'm talking about this with me, this has everything to do with your life as well. Because what was happening is, since we were never getting out of this realm and actually marrying somebody and actually building a life, somebody was doing it in our skins. We left the building, but a marriage was taking place and supposedly within the name and within the line, but then you're not even there. So every time we'd wake up and we'd come down here, we'd have to figure out who the fuck was supposedly married in our name. And you can only get out the way you came in. So each time that we would do this, it's kind of like you go back and you find out who it is that used your name, who used your energy, who has your children in a weird way, because they were stealing these lifetimes. They were only ever allowing us to go to the Momoa Egyptian characters, like literally. Like I fought the dragons in order to stop, because in the higher realms, the Egyptian line and which became gypsies, which became your handler system. Okay, now this side over here with the Jason, that's MJ12. That's what it ended up. It ended up MJ12. It ended up all these lines over all these dimensions that we were all forced to deal with, but then taken out by some way. Then the brotherhood or the men always ended up with the power, and this is the fate. This is what's going. This is the fate of your world right now. This is what happened. All because up in the hires, you couldn't get any better than this line. This line is the mirror version of it. Why? Because they used our energy in order to make it. I mean, it is our twin reality from that Egyptian side. But we'd never been in it. We never got to play. We was always killed in order for them to have whatever. And up in the hires, it's like we were literally handed to these motherfuckers because of how everything was on a loop. Well, we weren't even dealing with these motherfuckers. We were dealing with their handlers. We weren't even attached to them anymore because there was an entire system that was built on making us think that we were still attached to them, making us think that we were still connected to them, sending money, doing this, doing that, constantly having it in our mind, constantly thinking about them, because the codes that are sent out, I mean, it's like you couldn't escape it. It's fucking everywhere. Even when I got to freaking Florida, everybody in the house was tripping out whenever I got there because there was like 4 days where Jason Momoa showed up like everywhere we went, on every time we turned on the TV. I mean, even down to Danielle's husband's real estate email had a video of Jason on it. And when we were all like, what the fuck? Like, well, this is why. Whenever you're clearing it, it's going to show up. Everything that's built on those energies. But it was the only path that we had. We didn't have a choice. That's the main thing that I was here in order to make sure that for all of us feminines, we had a choice. Because if we went back to this, we'd all end up dead. They don't even know we exist anymore. This game's been going on for so long. And not to mention, it's not just stealing our destiny, it's stealing the real character's just destiny. It's stealing their destiny because they're not even involved anymore either. For however it ended up, then they had sold off their whatever for 10%, 5%, 4%, because we all know that they're getting nothing from it anyway. But anyway, I always knew on this side that we were crashing Hollywood. The prophecy, and I don't know the full prophecy. If you happen to know the full prophecy, I'd love to fucking know it. I never know. I never know the full prophecies until they completely come true. But it was prophesized that whatever was done onto our collective energy between the collective connections that I held and the collective connections that this Momoa character that was built held, okay, it was crashing Hollywood. Well, that's happening, is it not? Now, this side had to do with gypsy stuff. This side had to do with dark magic. This side had to do more, well, they both had voodoo in them in a weird way. But this one had more to do, because it's like this group over here had powers. Jason's a seer. Jason is a seer. He can, because he's MJ12. Kind of like how the Christ energies and those of us who were sacrificed, like I said over here, through all these lines, all these lines, all these lines. So then we're in everyone's DNA. So we're attached to everybody. So basically everybody in the world is our power source that has that energy activated. We all work together in a unit, whether we know each other or not. Well, that's this. If I'm the lead of that from hybridization hell, then what MJ12 is, and what that character was the leader for all the lines that had happened before that had done all these things, but he was the holder for it, just like I was the holder for this. So basically, kind of like the stigmata of it all is what you can say in the last. Neither of us knowing fully either, of course. I mean, because we had to walk it all in order to figure this out. Neither of us knowing for sure any of it. Each of us seeing things happen as it uncoils in universal law and whatever the hell, right? On the Henry side, totally different. On the Henry side, they always had all the money. On the Henry side, the prophecy is to bring down the monarchy, which we've done. On the Henry side, it's dealing with more Republican, which is financial magic, collective financial systems, collective energy harvesting, collective energy whatever, and the piling of it. So it's almost like these guys ended up paying these guys to do the work. And this one kind of based on more from Star Being. These guys over here with the monarch, and because now all the hybridizations kicked in every single time. These are the ones who won the whole thing every single time. So then these guys over here had all the DNA connections. They were all purified because we had come in and done our job, and these guys had done what they did to us in order to purify us to give it to them, which is why me and this guy over here never fully knew what the fuck was going on. And then these teams over here were utilizing this back and forth between our energies and our handlers and us getting mad at them and and they're tracking us and woo 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 woo. So all this is like making this. And on the Henry side, I was dealing with Nigeria. And the funny thing is, and this is what I keep getting reminded of, because this Faza character, see, I always, towards the end, as I was dealing with this Henry character, who, see, these Henry characters, these guys over here were military. These guys over here were, well, a couple of them told me Illuminati, fucking straight out. And then there was a Nigerian that had been, his family had been kidnapped, and they were holding them hostage to make him do what he was doing to me. Because and on this side, I got death threats. They threatened to kill this Cavill character. I've got all this in writing. If I didn't do this, if I didn't do that, they were going to kill him, which I really think that they did. Two totally different groups, two totally different energetics. But 2020, I think it was February, because it was right before the COVID, because I was in LA when this happened. I left Texas. We broke the grid. It snowed like a motherfucker up through Amarillo, up through Albuquerque, like Like, it was nuts. I was driving on black ice this week, but now I know, you know, and I knew then in a way that I was driving new territory. I get into, and I don't know that the girl that I'm going to was one of Epstein's girls, like in the lawsuit. I don't know this whenever I go to meet her. We're at Laura Croft Apartments. We're staying in Melrose at Laura Croft Apartments, and I'm with one of Epstein's girls. Okay, it's freaking nuts. Natalia. Now, who did Henry end up with? Who did Henry Cavill end up with? At least in front of everybody, because I mean I know the real story. But Natalie Viscuso, BlackRock. Who was I dealing with? Natalia. Now, whenever I get there, that first day that I got there, something really fucking crazy happened. Once I left Texas and I got to LA, I drove 20 fucking hours, whatever. As soon as I go into the apartment and I lay down in the living room, ooh, I'm fixing this neat. It was like my energetic body got wrapped up into a tornado. And I've never felt anything else like it. I've never felt anything as powerful as it. As soon as I laid down, from my perspective, it looked like it happened in the middle of the living room. It was like all of a sudden I started spinning, but I knew I was connected to the energy of this Jason character, is what it felt like, because this character was popping up everywhere. Da 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 da. So I started spinning like I was in a tornado, and it felt like our energy bodies had finally coiled. And then I guess it's because I was in LA. It was like our energy frequency, as we were spinning, got so high that all at once it felt like every demon, every vampire in the whole fucking world went just like that. Like, and all of a sudden I was seeing, because I think that they were seeing something change, like a light. And so then it's like all of a sudden I had all these vampiric type energies around the whirlpool. And I was like, get the fuck, doing what I do to get them off. Well, then they scurry. Then I look down, because now I'm pulled apart, because I do something. So now we're not in this energy coil. And then I just see this large, I mean, because I can't see their faces, you know, it's not that pure for me. I just see a large man who feels like the body structure of Momoa, and he's got this woman on his leg, and she's like holding on to his leg for like dear life, like wrapped around his leg like a snake. And I'm telling her to let go, and she won't let go. And I'm telling her to let go, and she won't let go. So I don't remember. I did some type of light language. I did something. She finally gets off his leg. Well, as soon as she gets off his leg, I look over to my right, and literally there's like this big weird ass, I mean, almost like a cartoon. See, and this is even the both sides of the brain. Like, as this energy leaves, then what was produced from it. So it's like whenever this woman was unbound from his leg, then all of a sudden it was like I saw this cartoon character, and I honestly can't even remember what that cartoon character was, because as soon as it popped up, it's like I guess from whatever I had done over here to get this woman off the leg, this cartoon character pops up, and then it's literally like you know, those big tractors that have the big metal drum that goes in a circle that makes concrete and like rolls over the ground to like press the ground. One of those I mean, as soon as this fucking weird ass thing shows up, runs over it. Now it's because I remember what the pancake guy looked like, because it stands up, because it's like a cartoon, and it's like this pancake dude. That all happened right whenever I got there. Natalia, the girl that lived there, cause after that happened, then 2020, now the COVID started. Now my handlers, this character's yelling at me to make money, and that all I have in my bubble is a pencil and a piece of paper and paper products. Now what was everybody? We had toilet paper problem, right? And then what were they all that what was everybody selling? Paper products, masks, 3M, gloves, like. And then I would leave. I had to go to Santa Rosa, and then I had to go back, and then I was supposed to go to Austin, and then the COVID happened. Then I was supposed to go to Hawaii. They stopped me from going to Hawaii to make the connection, which is why Hawaii got all fucked up in the end. Then I went to Fort Collins, Colorado, which is where Jason Momoa went to college. I had no ties with it. It ended up being where this astrophysicist group and these groups that were unknowingly or knowingly working with the government and said ops and whatever the fuck. It's where they were. And that's where I ended up. And when I would leave, I'd get random messages from Natalia, and it'd be like, Jason's looking for you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, that motherfucker just popped his head through my fucking wall. I mean, she would sit there and describe it to me like vividly. He would come through the wall and start looking like this, and she'd see him, and she'd go, she's not here. She's not here. Now, what's so crazy about this is right around this time, and why I even explained that situation is because there was so much magic and shit being swarmed around right there in 2020. And the thing was, at that point, I wasn't even talking to a Henry Cavill, but Faza showed up. Now, it's the second time that Faza had showed up, and the first time was earlier when I claimed Emeritus. When I claimed Emeritus, what is now their plane fleet or whatever, their airline. When I claimed Emeritus for the collective, he showed up within 24 hours on my Google chat. Because that's how it works. Whenever I would claim something for the collective that was with the true DNA of what their family was built off of, and it happened with the Cook line. It's happened with a lot. It's why we had to claim and do everything that we do. When we claim it, whoever's holding it has to show up. So this was the second time that I'd had a Faza message me. The first time was because I claimed Emeritus. When he messaged me at that apartment, I am not shitting you. As soon as his message showed up on Google Chats, these fucking water bugs and I had been there for a minute. I hadn't seen these bugs. I like, what the hell? They look like giant freaking cockroaches. They're like this big. But as soon as his energy entered my energy, these fucking bugs appeared all over the wall. And I took a picture and I sent him a picture and I said, do you see how fucking nasty your damn energy is? Look what you're printing in my world. What the fuck? Now, what I've started to realize is that this Henry Cavill character and Hamden, whatever the fuck, and all your Saudi sheiks and whatever the fuck all that shit was, because it ain't anymore, was all bound together. The monarchies, the Saudi, basically, like, the Saudis were holding like the Arabian quilt or whatever of a base root of their bullshit. of making of DNA, of making beings and seeding. I firmly believe that I mean the Saudis are basically the Zeta Reticuli bodies. Basically. The whole group, the whole energy, everything that's going in the desert, how they do all their rituals, how they do all their food, how they have to cover their mouths, how they have to cover their hair, how they have to do this. No, 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 no. All that shit is to hold a low energy current to control the world. And they got real fucking cocky with it. He had 12 sons. Well, funny thing, I was fed a story about my birth mother because I don't believe it now. Now I firmly believe that woman Judy and her twin sister June and that whole bullshit story that I was fed after a bunch of handler bullshit happened to me and I happened to find out her name. It was a lie. It was a system and a story that was basically made up just in case I came a looking. And it had to do with baby farming. Now, Foz's father has 12 children. Well, Judy's father had 12 children. The one that they said was supposedly my birth mother, that supposedly she was raped by a Gary Polson that died in the bird unit in Huntsville doing life, that I never met. He was poisoned in 2000 and was it 9 or 10 in the penitentiary by mustard gas. The mother never saw his body. He had an enlarged Y chromosome. The only picture, I have 2 pictures of that dude, and one of them he's with Brooke Shields from the Blue Lagoon timeline. I wait 15 years to come meet you. When I meet you, I bring my child. He's only 2. I heard you say he's definitely one of us. You were so mad that I didn't come meet you for 15 years. And when I did meet you, then you said, it's too late. We already chose. Same thing 2 other energies around me told, because we were so hidden. So basically they had already chose their prize fighter. So it did. And so, you know, they, in their little baby farming game of fucking taking over the world in a system. And so basically in my weird world of undoing this, I always came in too late per their perception because they had already chosen their horse. And then you just decided to do it on my son? Because that's what happened. Now there's 12 of them. And then there's 1 extra that's white. Got a big nose like me. Foz's dad, whatever the fuck his name is, they call him Master, by the way, because he set himself up to hold all the energetics of all these other, like it's literally their weird ass Muhammad. It's like Muhammad and Christ having a showdown. Well, there was a time with this in the very beginning in 2020, and this is even more fucked up because in this world they only thought of us as cartoon characters. I swear to God, they didn't even think we were real. I swear to God that they were even told that we weren't real. And basically, we were given. It was almost like I was given as a present to one of these sheiks, shakes, whatever the fuck, but young ones, not an older one, young one, and as a cartoon character in a video game. And they were purposely, there were no limits. So they were making chaos in my life, my real life. It was all everything that they were writing for it to happen was happening in order just to fuck with us and break us. I mean, it was happening all of 2020. Even that he would send messages and go, "Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't know that would happen like that, but you'll get over it." Blah 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 blah. And I'm crying. I mean, that's the reason I was there in that situation, because eventually this is even how I got their true identities, because they saw that everything was really happening to us, and everything was affecting us, and the more that you try to fuck with this, the more that you're going to be obsessed with us, and the more that you try to break our heart, the more you're going to love us. And in 2021, as we were breaking through this, because 2021 in August and 2022, same year, different layer of us having to go raw in order to break out of all this bullshit that's been going on our blood that had nothing to do with us. It was all these control mechanisms. And I just lost my train of thought on that. I mean, realize that even in 2021, whenever this broke, what was happening to me, and I mean, I made them choose me. But all of us were handcuffed onto a thing and onto this railing with our right wrist, and we were getting led into some type of weird craft that was taking us to hell. And I started screaming, "No, I'm Gaia. You can't do that. You can't take me up there. I'm Gaia." And then in my world, what happened was I just fell. Like, it's like they undid my wrist chain, and I physically fell to the ground. I physically fell, and two unconscious beings fell with me. So it would, and then I had to put up a bubble around us. Everybody was staring at us because we were glowing. Now I know that area where we fell in which you'd consider space or below or wherever it is, it's like that's where it's kind of where everyone's at now. Us falling in that energetic wherever we were is what ended up making a in between for everyone that's coming out. And it's basically now your Cohu 32 that the collective has written all this information about all these different programs, and coming from the stars, and why it was there, and all the different time counts of DNA and your connections to them, because it all has to do with the cosmos. And we're energy beings that produce that energy ray. So I mean, I this and that knowing's just come in within the last like 3 or 4 months. Now going back to the 12 of them, and there were these stories that were coming out through the collective, throughout all of this, right? Because the readers and everybody are picking up on the different pieces of this as it going down. And You know, there's a main story that had been going on about these brothers, these brothers that are fighting over power in the line. And I really feel like that is what it was. It was Faza, Hamden, that line, those brothers that were pit against one another by the culture, the father, whatever, the F. What really upset me the most about the Hamden thing is that they see, because the feds were involved with this. In the very beginning in 2020, the main thing was I was protecting what I called the dragon eggs, but now I know it was the purified masculine and feminine that came in as twins, and it happens way out here before it gets down in here. So I always had those with me, and on this side, these characters were always telling me that they were trying to get to me. And then as the whole world's exploding and all this shit's happening and we're getting chased all over the place, we're having us send money to get to us, is what the story was. But now I know that they just needed certain money sequences to be sent by us in order to overlay. So it's like $2,000 becomes 2 million. You send them a flight, then it actually kind of even pays for a flight to somebody else. That it also has to do with that woman who saw the weird alien on the airplane, shit like that too. Was all originally manifest from the maneuvering of us. Because remember, if when you're creating chaos to a template that is a template holder for a rewrite, then if you do it to me or you do it to your leader, because I mean I was kind of like up here from a high spiritual pure DNA point. There's seeds like queen seeds all underneath that too. And there's even like 2 layers below me on this thing. I was dealing with the pure version of whatever the hell balls it was. The most extreme, energetic in its pure form is what I was dealing with. And then there's all these other different template holders. So if you have a set of men that are just writing chaos on our lives like a fucking video game, like, you know, oh, she died, all right, we'll get her up and we'll do this, okay, we'll attack her here and do this and do that and do this and do that. And it was like that, and it felt like that, and I know that a lot of y'all felt that. Well, this is why. And they knew what they were doing the whole time. It had always worked in the past that they would beat us down, beat us down, beat us down, beat us down to the point that they could bind us and put us in Mecca. Now, the feds, I was in California, the feds sent me $16,000. BMO Harris account. Significant. BMO, Canada-based bank. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because what I'm saying even is that the Republicans, Rumpy Rump, Trump, Mar-a-Lago, what's buried under the new pool up by the ocean? Trump. What's in your closet? Trump. We know a bunch of our documentation is in your weird ass bathroom that Rex Humerman built, because me and Natalie have been channeling the documents. You know, we didn't even need them out. We were channeling the words off the documents for a long time. We know that he has some of this written somewhere, but my point is, these guys put us in a big box in Mecca with like the Judah line. Then in the United States, they're doing the same thing. They're doing another box and putting it off the coast of Mar-a-Lago, or putting it underneath the thing, and da-da-da. This was all about binding our energy underground somewhere. But my point is, This side, dealing with this shit, is what your presidency bullshit was. These guys over here had the timeline links and the power to actually do the magic, pull off the stunts, blah, 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 blah. This is how these two units were working together. This one has more to do with science, laboratories, accounting, video games, technology. As this system was crashing, this one was changing. As this one was changing, this one was changing. As these were changing, we're changing. And I'm seeing it again. These brothers over here were the ones who came up with this whole Jason Momoa, Henry Cavill, in my world. These are the characters that were in my world. A bunch of us had these double dipper characters in our stories. These happen to be the ones that are in my world up here. Katy Perry has a trinity. She has a tribrid trinity. So I know somebody's definitely connected into that one. Even if I'm going to put them in categories, which is really hard because it's also like incestual, you know, this side and this side, Obama's going to go over here. Obama'd go over here. More like the grounders. If you've watched the 100, these guys were like the grounders that ended up changing. These guys are the fucked up, crazy ass star people that did their weird shit. If you ever watched that show. Now, I'm saying all this right now because with Dubai flooding and everything that happened there, and it ain't over by any means, because what happened is that through all of this, and what the goal was for them to build their little city in Dubai that has flying, you know, a circuit for flying cars for 9 million, free energy, free everything. But do you know what their power source was? The box. You know where the box ended up? Texas. If you live around Dallas, Texas, or you live in Texas and you've been through Dallas, Texas recently, or you live here, everything started building north in Frisco, where they hit me with the car in front of Beale Bank, which is Trump's banker, Andy Beale. Andy Beale, I call that the whole world know who the fuck you are now. Andy Beale, come out, wherever you are. No more bells. Go look up Beale Bank. Beal. And this is basically how Trump and these Tim and all these freaking corporate remote viewers, government remote viewers, they all found me. They all found me and identified me in 2018. I had to go meet them. As soon as I cut Mark Bohe from my bank account that was associated with PayPal, and I cut his son Garrett off my bank account at Prosperity Bank in 2018, the day I did it, which was a big fucking deal for me because I was still coming out of a handler system feeling like I was responsible for them in some fucked up weird ass way, which I don't even know how the hell that all happened. But I finally get to the point where I'm like, fuck this. I'm getting them off my shit. I go to the bank. I cut their energy off from a Mark. I drive up into my driveway, and then across the street, I meet a Mark Clark. Mark Clark looks exactly like Princess Marguerite, exactly like the guy that she married. Exactly. Exactly. I knew he was Zeta Reticuli. He ends up. I've got him on one side. I'm dealing with an Addy on the other side that was introduced by an old client of mine, Ross Genovich, who is linked to IBM. She takes me to an underground temple, puts me in the pyramid, basically, sells my beauty codes to Peru, sells the twin. She's like the Egyptian sister that sold us out. Mark Cuban comes in. That's all being done on this side. At the same time that Mark Clark is across the street acting like he's helping us. All of the Arcturian codes and all the Egyptian codes and secret ciphers come in while I'm over there. He sells them to Axiom for $5 million and fucking leaves. This is what happened. This is how this got like this. Mark Clark, Amelia Clark. Oh, my ex-husband's restaurant, Mama Amelia's. Yesterday morning, our houses were shaking over here. If you're now, let me go back real quick because I didn't finish my thought. If you're from Texas and you can kind of go over your, because we've always had weird ass spaghetti. I call them spaghetti bowls. Freeways, they're stacked on top of a freeway overpass, over a freeway overpass, over a freeway overpass, and you go through it and you're like, what the fuck? It looks like different layers of a freaking spinny thing, like this, where all these energies are coming in together. And we've got some big ones over here in different big cities in Texas. Well, this one's it's when you're on top of those roads and you look down now, everything's changed in Texas. They've been building new electric currents. So like the electric poles and how that was all lined up in Texas, there was a linear flow about it. You could see where the wood poles were, and then you could see the big metal poles, but they were all going like the same directions, like rays. Well, now they're been building these huge metal ones with all these nuclear forks and these crazy Trinity things and those weird little connectors and all that shit. And they're not even on the row. They cut through, cut back, triangulate, like the whole thing. It looks, they've just woven another electrical pattern and started building the streets that way and industrializing different areas that shouldn't be industrialized. All of that is Middle Eastern bullshit. All of that is basically land and energy gates and everything that's been being laid in order to use Texas as a Mecca box to hold up their fucking bullshit. All built on the same way that you did it since Egypt? No. Not anymore. The frequency doesn't even exist in order to connect it. So as in Dubai is gonna sink. All of it's gonna sink. That little part Israel that's holding in there like a rock that's got stuck there for like way too long. I don't know. That rock's either gonna split the Nile in half or it's gonna fall into the ocean at some point. Egypt ain't dead no more. Shouldn't have been. It is all blood harvesting to begin with. The pictures that we can pull you of them in boats driving in red blood, and then don't get me started on what the blue veins look like, where the plasma comes in the ocean. I mean, this is you mess with the being that is Earth, and you take all their blue blood out and you fucking give it to somebody else, then the Earth ain't gonna get its blue blood. I mean, this is what happened down here. This is why nobody was manifesting. This is why nobody was printing. Everybody, because it's been so long that these DNA strands have been held down in here to produce your world that nobody even realized who we were. You hybridize, make us into a deer, make us into a chicken, make us into this, make us into that, make us into this, but we's your planet. Okay. Well, I guess you don't need land. I guess you don't need oxygen. I guess you don't need CO2. I guess you don't need any of that. All you need is chickens and deers. And then you don't eat cows. You just let them fucking walk in your house and do whatever, but then you treat your women like shit? Like, no. No. Not to mention in those other countries, the jinn, which is your double simian, have been hunted the same as us. Worse than us, because it's easier to see. Whenever double simian are born over there, they still hide them. They still hide them. Because your sorcerers and your time lords and Foz's dad will come put him into a circuit, hold him hostage, beat him, fucking whatever. This is how this little program was made in order to control us women through technology, like little fucking characters. And the feds were all over it. I'll remind everybody that the Air Force is who put me in the chamber. The CIA is and whatever they have that makes them like MI6, that they can move those computers around and they can do all that, and their little hearing things and their little whole fucking weird ass world of Smiths and whatever the fuck has all been because of what I've been on here telling you. And they are the ones who put me in the chamber in 1983. Now, I ain't got no beef with that until 2018. 2018, whenever I woke up from the chamber, Trump was notified to clean his shit. The very next day is whenever all his crap came out, and the very next day is whenever I got on the phone and supposedly talked to my fake grandmother in a farming system with that fake ass story, just in case we woke up too much to show up, because then they had to make up a story. Well, there it is. I ain't got no problem with being the one put in 1983. That was all done in order to connect for now. That was all done in order to be there for end days. I don't have no problem with clearing everybody's karma up until then. My problem is 2018. Everybody was supposed to be letting us out to finish this, and the whole goddamn world spent every last bit of energy and every last bit of their money in order to try to keep us in a goddamn box and control the world. On the very last evolution count, so there wouldn't be another one with the presidency system that was going away because it was set on AB. So whoever's the last president is supposedly in control of everything. All up on a bunch of feminines' backs that the feds have been paying and making us clean their money. Clean every single one of us that are in your collective. We cleaned your money. We made you bit. We cleaned the national deficit. That's why we don't have any money. This is how we know there's not any money. At the end of this, with the energy, now mind you, when I talk about money and I talk about energy, I'm talking about all the energy in the cosmos that's coming down here and connecting to us. There ain't none out there anymore. If you can't process it down here and connect it into the current that we're connecting in down here, there ain't nothing out there. This is what I'm talking about. When I tell you there's no more energy, there ain't no more energy out there if you're not processing it down here. And there ain't no way in fucking hell they can put us ever back in a box. So this has been my preacher ceremony today. This is coming in mecca strong. And I don't know what's going to happen next. What I do know is there's some divine plans. And this is what really upset me the most about this whole Foz's story was his second wife that paid for a $50 million wedding that was supposed to be our collective wedding for a whole bunch of people getting married in unions, same as the one that Kanye and Kim mirrored to take over Versailles. But in our timeline, it was a massive union wedding because we all came together and found each other. So The $50 million you were supposed to give to me, you spent on a fake wedding to have twins whenever you stole the dragon twin energy. Because that's exactly what I was doing whenever the Fed sent me 16 grand and forced me and all my. Then, as soon as they sent me that and I cleared it and sent it out where I needed it to, then that's when my birth certificate for me and my son and my passport vanished. And I got written out of the Matrix. The whole time, putting us in a situation that no one was listening to us. Everybody was attacking us. Nobody, but the whole world watching us and allowing it to go down. Now, the reason that I told y'all this whole story is for a couple of reasons, because I'm fixing to hang up. Number one, this needs to be documented, and it continues to need to be documented because this is what happened. More and more is coming together, and we're putting it together how they did it. Number two, what I started talking about in the very beginning, universal law. We're about to find out. Now, what ended up happening at the end of this story is basically a Henry Cavill, who has kind of been missing for a while, and a Fozzie character were dueling out for a timeline. Because since one didn't win out over another one, and since the feminine dropped out of the whole thing, and then it became two power sources in the end, then basically they were fighting out in the etherics. Was it going to be the London version, or was it going to be the Saudi version that was gonna, the London Scientology version, or the Saudi version that made that? That was going to end up connecting and pulling it together. Because I ain't got no problem with Middle Eastern people, just like I ain't got no problem with Texans. I ain't got no problem with no groups of people. I love everybody. I think I know the truth. I know the truth. My problem is the organizations that the people want to give power to in Texas. Trump, the fucking presidency, all this crazy ass bullshit, guns, whatever the fuck. And then you Middle Eastern people, you're giving your power to a goddamn serial killer of masses. You think Charles Manson was bad? Please. That motherfucker stole his son's destiny. Just like my mother, you mean Ghislaine Maxwell on paper, kept stealing mine. So, this is where we're at. Yes. Well, I dealt with Solomon. See, it's interesting you're bringing that up because there's only one set of beings that traveled with me who, see, just exactly. Chelsea, that ball hit me on the nose. There's only one set of beings that traveled with me that I know were 100% fully involved. And the names are Camille. Now we had Camille, which was Kamala, and then Harris, Kamala Harris, Camellia, whatever the fuck her name is, exactly, Chameleon, Kamala, Camille in London too. Charles is whatever the fuck, all that. She had children, Luna and Solomon. And whenever I connected with them in 2018, I even knew in a weird fucked up way that they's on the moon. Like they were a Band-Aid. Like they were that family of four because she was black and white. But her real name was Ashley, which is even more fucking crazy because of the Biden thing and all that, right? Her real name was Ashley, and then she was from a black and a white person, which I mean, don't even I it's nuts. The whole thing is so the whole thing's so fucking crazy in my world because it's almost like we made them, but it was basically like our fail safe. It was like the four DNA sequences that we needed to pull back in order that but she was half black, half white, and then her husband was like Russian, German, like white, Irish, like crazy. And then they had two children. The boy looks a lot like Ari Carlos. I mean, like exactly like him in another dimension. It's crazy, but he was only like 5. Though those children, as we were cleaning all this from 2018, 2009, well, basically 2019, and then I cut ties with them in 2020, but not till the end because we did a lot of stuff together. And especially Solomon, the little boy, would have vivid dreams and wake up in the morning telling us all the vivid dreams that he had, all connected to the clearings that we were doing. And with December, it was well, I guess it was January. It was the day of the Golden Globes in 2020, which was, I know it was in January or the beginning of February, but that it took me 3 hours to get out of all the contracts that they had set on us with that one show. And this is the one where Momoa had the tank top on, Obama was there, Quentin Tarantino was there. He had the Poseidon deal, and Ellen was saying all this crazy shit. Like that whole Golden Globes was all fucking nuts because all the contracts had just been put on all the bloodlines, and it's basically what it was. So for like 3 hours, it took me like 3 hours to physically unwind over here. Like I was on my side, I was here. It was like I'd get stuck and then I'd have to be shown how it was all connected because I had the database basically and I could see it all. And then I'd move my hand and then it'd get clinked to the ground. And I saw so many different scenarios with satellites, a Morgan mother that was killed, us being kidnapped and put in a biker's home. We were in another room. The children knew we were there. They knew we were there, but we were held in another room. We were held prisoner. Like all these tons of different scenarios that I was seeing in these 3 hours, which I know later I ended up walking, which is kind of the story I'm telling you, because I got us out of it and energetically got us out of it. But I bring it up because one of the very last ones that because I'd finally gotten out of the biker thing, I'd finally gotten off the floor, all these things, but I couldn't move my right leg, and that was because there was a metal clinker with a giant chain on my right ankle, and Solomon had to come in and break it. No one else could break it. I couldn't move. It was Solomon that had to come in and break it. Also, the other significance is when I was in Santa Rosa, which now, if you look where Bohemian Grove is in Santa Rosa, this is why a lot of this went down in Santa Rosa and why they had me there in an RV in Chuck's front yard when the COVID happened. As Chuck's trying to get his cat-looking woman from Colombia back into the States, like, he's trying to get her here, but he has me in an RV, and everything was going fine. I had gone into the recording studio. I had just made a song. Like, everything was connecting. And then Patelco Banking came into the picture, and banking came into the picture. And all of a sudden, I knew all of my, like, I had to go change all my passwords. I had to go change everything. And then there was a being that was there that was part of this from a feminine perspective, part of this. And she had given me this Solomon oil and told me to bathe in it or some shit. And she did flower, herbal, whatever, but it wasn't, I don't even know. I just know that I had to immediately, whenever that attack came in, and this was for the human, this is for the entire collective, because it had to do with, I guess, probably where this system was ganked, probably, which is what's changing back and flipping now. But I had to go on the outside of the RV, and I had to put with that Solomon oil and basically encircle the RV with this Solomon oil. And later on, that ended up manifesting with the RV and an attack that I was in an RV, and me having to seal the RV with all of us in it and all the DNA in the frequency, in order to get us out of Joshua Tree. And then that even manifested 3 weeks later with an RV and some people that we met in Vegas, in Nucla, and then their RV door was literally welded shut. They had to get a welder. It took him 3 hours to open their RV door, and it wasn't even the same RV, wasn't even the same. The Solomon stuff ended up being heavily linked with Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes and the castle that they were married in, and all the spell work that was done on that whole thing, attached to basically the dragon energy. Became what that was. Yeah. Is that pronounced Sasha or Saka? Sasha is a name in the story. How long have I been on here? 116. It's 1:30. Okay. If you have a question, let me know. Otherwise, I'm probably fixing to. If you know anybody who had handler stuff going on in their life, please send them this video. And let them know to take the names and all that out. But they're gonna have these two different sides, these two different perceptions in every way. But all of us are going to have, these two might be different depending on where you are in the accordance. This could be Texas and Arkansas. This could be Democrat, Republican. This could be, well, actually Democrat, Republican. It could be a million different things. But they would have been placed in the middle. And it helps them understand what was the reason behind it, because until we would firmly understand, at least a few of us, how this all happened, then it can't be undone. Because as soon as you figure it out, it's being undone. Now it's, and I've figured this out. I'm on here telling you, because it's getting undone from way up here. The more of us that make these connections right here, that this is what was happening, the faster it all comes untied. We all get overwhelmed. We all get overwhelmed. We all get frustrated. We all Well, remember that your body is programmable, and tell your consciousness, like, remember to ask exactly what you want the answers to. Even ask your consciousness, what would make me not feel overwhelmed? What would help me? Ask yourself. You'll get the answer. Just remember, you're the tech now. Like, we've already cleared all this. So if you're getting overwhelmed, then consciousness, collective guide, spirit, whatever, what can I do to not feel overwhelmed? Why do I feel overwhelmed? But whatever comes in, you can't discount it. Whenever you ask a question and you ask how to do it, if you don't do it, then it isn't going to come. So it won't come the next time. So just ask why. Use your gifts, use your processing. I mean, when all this was happening to me, I mean, that's why I was such a manic wreck. But I mean, listen to what all was happening to me. Like, but in the middle of that, and in the process of the overwhelming, and the process of the attacks, and the process of all that, it birthed and rebirthed my true powers. Because there was nobody that could help me. I had to remember that I was more powerful than them. I had to remember that I could wield that dark energy easier with light energy, no matter how much they want to make out of it. I had to remember all of that to get rid of my overwhelmed feeling. And then lo and behold, it ended up taking out the goddamn Satan and devil. So ask. Because at the base root of it, that's what you have to do. That's what you're birthing. Maybe, hopefully not that. Because that's already been done. That's what I'm dealing. That's what I had to deal with. That's why, if this was all over and nobody else mattered, I wouldn't be on here still talking, would I? No. Every single one of you matter. We had enough to put it back together, and we got a nail here, and nail here, and nail here, and nail here, and nail here. One big ass board that's been splintered, spit apart, blah, 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 blown into roots, blah, 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 blah. Up here, we've got satellites, and yeah, there's a connection, but everybody coming in now and figuring out how to get their overwhelmed is what's filling in all the blanks, which makes everything stronger. Because it's all working within a line. These powers are all coming from down here and up here. They're all meeting together. Which connection do you have? You've got to use your gifts. You've got to use your powers. You've got to use your gifts. You've got to use your powers. It's why your soul has you in the situation right now that you're in order to feel that way. So that, I mean, look, a lot of these situations that have been coming up from the past 2 years, the reason that I get so pissed off is because something's got to piss me off. Like, literally, I can't play the game by myself. We've kind of been playing the game by ourselves for a while because there really wasn't anybody up at this level, no matter. So it's like I have even realized in the past couple of years, especially anything that makes me mad, I get upset for a split second. I make some commands, and then I go, fuck. I had to get mad in order to make those connections. That's it, because I had to make those connections. I had to make that command. Nobody else could do it. So I had to make the command. I had to make it in that energy. So that's the reason I got pissed off. Well, once I figured that out, then I started asking, hey, don't piss me off next time. Can you just tell me another way? Can we figure out another way to communicate? Why do I gotta go, oh, holy, no. We can do it another way. I ain't got to get mad in order to do that. I see, but in the old way that they were doing it, they was always holding us hostage, beating us up, fucking. We need some energy in the north. Everybody got their sticks ready, go. This is how they's getting it from us. So it's like you don't even know how to produce it without being overwhelmed. You don't even know. But once you're like, oh shit, wait a minute. Is there another way we can do this? What am I supposed to be doing right now? What am I supposed to be calling? Because I'm guarantee you it has to do with your gifts. It ain't got nothing to do with anything else. It has to do with your power source, your processor, your alchemy, and your gifts. Yes, Anthony, it's not your fault, Emma. Anthony, I've been telling you this for how long now? Now, if there's a specific move that you made that you feel like did the whole thing, then I don't know. Maybe you should. I can promise you, it. Even if you got wrapped up in it, okay, then undo it. Command whatever you did. You were definitely. I mean, did you have millions of dollars to pay them so they wouldn't do spell work on you? No. Did I? No. So what did they do? A bunch of spell work on me because I couldn't pay them? Yep. Okay. Is it my fault that all this happened, even though it was done through me? No. Mm-mm. But what have I been doing ever since the get? Getting us out. Getting us out. Okay, so how can you fix it? That's what you need to be asking. How can I fix it? Because I guarantee you that you're the one that did it so that you'd remember to fix it. This is just like the main ones where we chose our bad guys. We had to choose our bad guys. Well, why'd we choose the bad guys? Because we knew eventually they'd get it and they'd fix it. That's what magic's all. That's what Scorpio's all about. That's what Scorpio's all about. Remembering what you did before and fixing it. Not doing it again. If you did end up making a move and doing some things sideways, which I made some mistakes. I made a whole bunch of mistakes. But I was shown how to fix it. Just fix it. Fix it. Or, how about this, Anthony? Why don't you just go delete it altogether? You don't even got to fix it. Why don't you go command that timeline that you were forced to do, whatever it is, just delete it. Delete it for you and delete it for your sisters. Just delete the whole fucking thing. Just delete it. Why don't you go do that? I mean, and that move right there could be what we're all fucking waiting for. Because how dare they take one of our brothers and wrap him and convince him that bullshit and do a bunch of black magic and fucking whatever the fuck? If you still firmly feel that way, and I still firmly feel this way about it, then go do that. Go delete it all. It wasn't universal law. Delete it all. And everything that was built off of it. This is how quick you become the hero in it all. It's why you were in it to begin with. It's why we dealt with this Momoa character over here. It's why we chose that character. Because somehow in the end, something's gonna, I don't know if I'll ever meet him or whatever. I don't even care. But I really don't. I'm so done with it. But over here on this side, he's gonna pull it out somehow. Right? That's why we chose that. We chose that bad guy because we knew that we were connected with that bad guy enough that whenever it came time, he was gonna side and see it. We didn't choose this bad guy to be this character because these all get hybridized, manipulated, taken over. No. We chose this one to do it. And we had to yell at him and the whole thing the whole time. But just delete it. Just go delete it. That might be why I'm on here right now. Y'all are all fucking very important if you're watching me. Please realize that this went divine. This went divine. This whole thing and what you're becoming now, I mean, it is what it is. It's immortal. For those of us who went through this first round, if you're in my energy and been in it and working with me, realize this went divine. 100% divine. A divine timeline was hatched from this whole thing. What does divine timeline mean? Not a damn bit of human DNA in it. Not a damn fucking bit of real human DNA or any real human DNA sequences. You basically had to be a mythical fucking deity character to pull it off. That is how insane it was. So let me ask you, does all the human race DNA important? Yeah. The only way to get all the way out was completely divine on each side. I mean, I'm special. But pulling the DNA out on each side, each divine side, then it has that connection in each DNA strand. But this is also why many of the groups were coming after me. Many of them were like, you're taking all our energy. Well, no shit. Because your fucking whoever you're signed up with is going to take your ass over, and we already know it. So sit the fuck down, let us frogger over your ass so we can finish this motherfucker, so that you even have a street and a frog for that motherfucker to jump across. Otherwise, we ain't going to have nothing, because all of these DNA lines are set to fail. So that's why everybody was coming after us. That's why everybody wanted us dead. This is why they were all saying that we were going to take all their powers, which we did we did, because they all had to be pushed up to finish this from this side divine and this side divine. Now, what's happening is, I don't know what frequency you are to hold the power. We didn't take it to hold it. We don't fucking want it. We've had it the whole time. That's a goddamn problem. It shouldn't all be in a couple of beings. It's supposed to be for the whole fucking world, for everybody. But you can't get it until you're at the right frequency to get it, because you will fuck yourself up if you are in the wrong thought process. You're doing the wrong shit in this matrix. You will completely just basically take yourself out if you have all of your powers and you ain't changed nothing. You got to change the way you're moving. You got to change the way you're thinking. You got to get right with the way you're thinking about it for those powers to come in. Otherwise, it's going to fuck you up. Right. We gave them, well, it all had to be done again. We made them cook us again. They didn't have any intention on going and cooking again. We made them because this new sequency had been made. They couldn't, none of it was connecting. They had to recook the whole thing. And then we were like, all right, well then use all your energy and all your resources to gather us up, recook. Let's see how far everyone's going to take it. Because realize, once this new energy gets here, it's not like we can pick and choose who it comes to. We can't. We can't go human race, clean us, but don't clean the entire rest of the human race. You can't do that. See, that's where everybody forgot. Like we're doing the whole lot. This is everybody on the planet. Now that's creating a new sequence because everybody's on the planet. Then everybody didn't realize that's quantum energy. Then everybody didn't realize everything's getting run by the quantum energy. Then who are the ones holding the quantum energy? The ones who did all the clearing. Then this is how everybody got lost throughout history, because nobody knew what the fuck was going on. You can't bring in cosmic source codes and be like, you can have it, you can't have it, you can have it, you can't have it, your last name is not this, you cannot do this, no. You can't do it that way. It's cellular. It's going to come in no matter. So as the antimatter was leaving And the cosmos is stretching, I mean, pushing, because we're embodying it. We're embodying it. We are embodying it. It ain't out there anymore. It's down here. The whole little black ball was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. All the people in the black ball kept thinking, ha ha, I am the most powerful I am the most powerful sorcerer in the whole world. But they're in a little bubble like that big. They were. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and we're all around them and all white going, We was watching them the whole time because they was using our energy. All that's happened is that little world's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Now it's to where this orb has taken over the black zit and it's popping it out. Because that low frequency, I mean, if it's bound to the moon, if it's bound to the sun, well, which moon, which sun? No more tick, 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 tick of an M sun, whatever illusion. You're welcome. Go break that motherfucker. I command it deleted now. Whatever Anthony's worried about, I command it deleted. And whatever Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony set up on it in order to make this whole fucking bullshit, because, oh yeah, my Mark just joined Telegram, which is a big tell for me. So, see, at least now we're not in the Marks with an X. Now we're dealing with Mark with a K. Well, I've been talking about it. Cosby and Diddler, they just riding the fence in the middle. Cosby and Diddler in the middle, just doing this. The whole thing. Involved with the whole thing. All right, guys. Have a great day. I might be back later. I don't know. We'll see what's up. And no matter what's going on right now, just take a look back to 3 years ago. I bet it's a lot better than it was 3 years ago. And remember that. Send this to whoever had a handler. Please. Please. If they had a handler, please send this to them. Even if you think they ain't gonna get it. Let me show you what parts they see.